Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. She hit pause on the wedding playlist and killed the room. My name is Jake and I am 29. Her hand stayed on the speaker like she might hit play again. She did not. She looked at me and I felt something tilt inside my chest. You need to turn that off. Her voice sounded steady in a way that scared me. We were supposed to pick the song for our first dance. I thought she hated the track and wanted to skip it. I had no idea she meant the whole future. Okay, sure. I grabbed my phone and killed the app with a tap. Happy now, music cop. I tried to smile because teasing usually softened her. This time her face did not move an inch. I can't do this. She said it like a fact on a bill, not a plea. I laughed once because my brain grabbed the easiest meaning. Change the venue or what? Change the date again. She shook her head and I finally shut up. She sat down instead of answering and that told me plenty. She does not sit for small stuff, she paces and rants. Seeing her sink into the chair felt wrong and heavy. My chest tightened with this slow creeping dread. Some part of me already knew and still hoped I was wrong. I am not marrying you. The words dropped clean between us and just stayed there. I waited for the follow-up, some joke, some explanation. Nothing came, only her hand twisting the edge of her shirt. My ears buzzed and the room turned weird and distant. I do not understand. That was the first thing I managed, which was half true. On the surface I got it, underneath I refused every piece. We are engaged, we have a date, we are doing this. I lined up facts like shields and felt them crumble anyway. She took a breath like she was about to dive. I like women, Jake, I always have, I am gay. My brain locked on the word like it was in another language. For a second, I honestly thought she meant something else. There is no script for your fiancé coming out and breaking you. I stared at her, then at our calendar on the wall. Same room, same woman, brand new reality I did not order. Since when? I heard my voice and hated how pathetic it sounded. As if she might say last Tuesday and make it easier somehow. Since always. Her eyes did not flinch, which hurt more than the sentence. I tried to push it away, I tried to be normal. Normal, that word stabbed harder than any insult. Apparently, I had been the experiment in her normal project. Are you sure? Yes, I really asked that like she had misread herself. I am not proud of that moment and I still hear it. Her mouth twisted like I had slapped her on purpose. If I was not sure, I would not blow up our wedding. I should have stopped there, but I was drowning. So this is new, right? Like some recent thing, some shift. I pulled ideas out fast, anything that kept us salvageable. She shook her head slowly and kept her eyes on mine. I knew before you proposed, Jake, I just could not face it. That line landed harder than the gay part, honestly. She knew and still let me kneel down with that ring. I remember cheering friends later and I feel sick now. Back then, I just felt this hot shame rising into my throat. I had never felt like an extra in my own life before. You let me plan all this. I waved toward the notes and lists and reminders. My hand shook and I hoped she did not notice it shake. You watch me save for this, you watch me hustle. My voice cracked on that last word and I bit it back. She winced, which almost made me feel worse. I did love you in a way that made sense then. Love me how? The question came out sharp, mean, maybe a little desperate. I needed her to say something that did not erase everything. I loved you as my best friend, my safe person. She squeezed her fingers together until her knuckles went white. I loved how you treated me, I loved the life idea. But you did not want me, I said, and the air changed. There it was, the real wound I did not want to name. She flinched but did not argue, which somehow cut deeper. I tried to want that, I thought it would come with time. Tried, past tense, clean and final, like a test already graded. I kept thinking if I pushed through, it would click one day. I realized I had been waiting for a spark she never even chased. My mind sprinted to every time she pulled away in bed. Every time she said she was tired and I believed her. At the time I told myself that is just how long relationships go. Now each scene replayed with a new harsh spotlight. It felt like watching my own life dubbed in a different language. Did you cheat on me? I blurted it before I could soften the edge. Part of me wanted her to say yes and just simplify it. A simple villain would have been easier than this mess. She shook her head and her jaw clenched hard. No, there is no physical cheating. Physical, that word clung to the air in a weird way. I heard the gap she left and my stomach turned. So there is emotional C. Heating, I said, half statement, half question. Her silence answered long before her mouth did. I caught feelings for someone after I stopped pretending inside. She stared past me like that made it more polite somehow. It made everything snap into place and I could not ignore it. I hated that I pictured a face for this stranger right then. Jealousy mixed with this sick relief that at least something made sense. I stood up because sitting still felt impossible. Energy rushed through my arms with nowhere to go. I wanted to shout or throw something or just vanish. Instead, I put my hands on the table and leaned there. The distance between us suddenly felt like a cliff edge. So what was I to you? I asked, staring at the mess. A trial run, a cover story, a warm-up for the real thing. My words came out louder than I planned and I saw her flinch. I knew I was being unfair and I did not care yet. Pain makes you greedy for blame and I grabbed whatever I could. You were not fake to me, she said, voice shaking now. I cared about you, I still care about you, I swear that. But I heard that word coming and it still hit like a truck. There is always a but in sentences that start with love. But I was lying to myself and that means I was lying to you. There it was, finally spoken without any soft padding. She met my eyes and did not look away this time. Everything we built came from a part of me that wanted safety. She took a breath and finished the knife, not from desire. I sat back down because my knees did not trust me anymore. My heart hammered like I had run, even though I had not moved. I looked at the notes for guest lists, budgets, schedules, whatever. None of it connected, like I was staring at another couple's life. I honestly felt like I had crashed into someone else's breakup scene. So when you said yes, I pressed because I could not stop. When I asked and everyone cheered and you cried, what was that? I needed at least one memory I could keep without editing. She closed her eyes and for a second I thought she might lie. I wanted to be that girl so badly that I believed myself. I did not speak for a long, slow stretch that felt endless. I watched her twist the ring on her finger round and round. The same ring I had chosen with this stupid, careful pride. Back then I thought that ring proved I understood her. Now it looked like a prop from a show we were canceling. You made me into a lie too, I finally said, voice low. People look at us and see this perfect story, this solid couple. They see you, she whispered, and that part I heard clearly. You are solid, you are not the lie in this. That should have comforted me and it did not. I realized this whole talk was a rewrite in real time. Every scene, every kiss, every quiet night in up for review now. At the time I still clung to this hope we might fix it. Now writing this, I see how done she already was. She had not come to discuss, she had come to end. Are we breaking up? I asked like an idiot who knew the answer. We are not getting married, she said, steady again. I do not know what we are after this, but we are not that. My throat closed and the room blurred at the edges. I heard a car outside and it sounded weirdly normal. I pushed my chair back and stood again, slower this time. Okay, I said, though nothing in me meant that word. Okay, you are gay, the wedding is dead, got it. I nodded like we were confirming a delivery and not my life. I think I laughed a little and it sounded broken and wrong. She watched me like she expected me to explode or collapse. I did neither, which almost surprised both of us. What do you need right now? She asked, voice small again. The question made me weirdly angry, like I was a guest here. What I needed was for this conversation to never have started. I picked up my keys because they were near my hand. Not because I had a plan or a destination or anything. I need air, I said like I was reading from a script. I headed for the door and felt her eyes on my back. Every step away from her felt heavy and not nearly enough. Right before I opened the door, she spoke again. Jake. Just my name, no title, no pet nickname, nothing soft. I stopped because of course I stopped, I was still me. Her next line is the one that keeps echoing even now. What we had was never real for me, not the way you thought. I did not turn around because I knew my face would give me away. The world tilted and I grabbed the doorknob like it might steady me. That sentence did more damage than the word gay ever could. It took our whole history and snapped it in half in one breath. My phone buzzed with a reminder for cake tasting. I slapped snooze first, then deleted the whole event. The silence after that tiny tap felt heavier than last night. I lay there staring at the screen like it might rewind time. It did not move, so I had to. I dragged myself upright and checked my hand out of habit. The ring still sat there, bright and obvious and stupid. I tugged it off, then pushed it back on, then off again. You ever do that, just cycle through pain like a loop? I left it on finally, which felt like its own betrayal. Voices drifted from the kitchen, cupboard doors, running water. For a second I forgot and thought this was a normal morning. Then my chest tightened and the memory slammed back in. I walked in anyway because hiding in the bedroom felt worse. She stood at the counter, humming like nothing had broken. Morning. She glanced up, face oddly relaxed like she had slept fine. I noticed how light she seemed and it pissed me off. Did you rest at all? It came out flat, halfway between question and accusation. A little. She set a mug down and pushed it toward me. That casual kindness almost knocked me over more than the words. I have to head out soon, we can talk tonight. She reached for her bag like this was just scheduling. I did not touch the cup, I watched her instead. You drop a bomb and then just clock in for work. My voice rose on that last word without my permission. Her shoulders tensed, then she exhaled slow like counting inside. If I stay here all day it will get worse. I laughed once, short and ugly, just to keep moving. Pretty sure the worst already happened in our living room. She flinched, then straightened like she decided something. I am not backing out of this, Jake, I meant it. Hearing my name again felt like a shove between the ribs. Did you cancel anything? I pointed at my phone, still lit on the counter. Venue, caterer, planner, any of it, or is that my job too? She looked down at her own screen and swallowed hard. Nothing yet, I thought we should decide together how to handle it. Together, that word landed wrong now, almost insulting. I nodded anyway because I did not trust my next reaction. Fine, go to work, I will figure out what I can. It sounded way calmer than I felt, which scared me a little. Calm on the outside, total free fall inside, classic. She stepped closer like she might touch my arm. Stopped halfway, fingers curling back toward her palm. I know you probably hate me right now. Probably like there was any doubt left in the room. I still care what happens to you in this. I wanted to snap something sharp, something unforgivable. Instead I stared at the microwave clock and picked the safest line. Then answer me straight later, no fog, no half-truths. Her jaw tightened and she nodded once. Text me if anything urgent comes up. The door closed behind her with a soft click that dragged. The apartment felt weirdly huge without her moving around. I stood there with 2 untouched mugs and a missing future. Then my calendar pinged again with another wedding task. I grabbed the phone like it had personally insulted me. Instead of dismissing the alert, I opened our shared notes. Pages of lists stared back, all that organized hope. My vision blurred for a second, then sharpened with anger. I scrolled, not for comfort this time, but for evidence. I wanted to see exactly where things stopped matching her story. The first thing that hit me was a comment from 3 months back. She had written, "We should push this, I feel off about everything." Back then I read it as normal stress and cracked a joke. Now the line glowed like a warning sign I never bothered to read. I tapped the date and felt my stomach twist. My mind jumped to that week, to a family dinner. She barely touched her plate and left early, headache. I tucked her in, kissed her forehead, felt weirdly proud. I told myself I was a supportive partner, patient and steady. Now it just felt like I had tucked in someone halfway out the door. I exited the notes and opened our text thread. Years of messages, memes, little hearts, all crammed together. I scrolled back to right before I proposed. That week looked sweet on the surface. Underneath, new patterns popped out like bruises. Do we have to go out tonight? I am drained. I feel disconnected from everything lately. Maybe I am not built for this whole relationship thing. At the time I sent pep talks, called her dramatic, made her laugh. Reading them now felt like watching myself patch a sinking boat. I clicked into one specific day and zoomed in. There was a picture she sent from a bar with friends. Her smile looked tight, shoulders angled away from a guy beside her. The caption under it read, "Everyone keeps asking when we set a date." Followed by, "I feel like an actress who forgot her lines." That line I had brushed off as her usual humor. Looking at it now, I felt my ears burn with shame. How loud did she have to be before I actually listened? I wanted to blame her for not shouting clearer. I could not ignore how many times I turned down the volume myself. My screen lit with a new message from her. "I really am sorry, please eat something and drink water." I stared at those words like they belonged to a stranger. Instead of answering, I backed out and opened our gallery. If texts were one story, photos were another. I went straight to the engagement night folder. Dozens of shots of us, hands up, faces pressed together. In almost every one, I leaned in while she tilted away. Her eyes looked bright yet distant, focused somewhere over my shoulder. How did I miss that gap in real time? Back then I saw nerves, shock, maybe camera awkwardness. Tonight, writing this, I catch something colder behind the grin. Not cruelty, more like someone trying very hard to feel what they should. I clicked through the pictures one by one, slower each time. With every image, the story rewrote itself a little more. There was one photo I could not stop returning to. She stood with her best friend, heads together, laughing at something. My hand was on her waist, and she barely touched mine. Her friend's comment under the photo said, "Proud of you, girl." I used to read that as normal, now it rang different. Proud of what exactly? Proud of saying yes to me? Or proud of pulling off the scene everyone expected? Maybe both, maybe neither. My brain chased every option at once. None of them landed anywhere that hurt less. A new notification slid down from the top of my screen. Shared calendar alert, final deposit due this Friday. Venue balance, non-refundable, whole number that made me a little dizzy. I clicked on it and saw her name next to mine. For a second, I hovered over the delete button and froze. Part of me wanted to wipe the whole thing out immediately. Erase every task, every reminder, pretend the wedding never existed. Another part clung to it like proof that I was not insane. These plans were real, even if her reasons were not. I backed out without deleting, which felt like cheating on myself. My chest felt tight, so I moved to the kitchen. I finally drank the coffee she had poured and left behind. It tasted bitter and thin, and still better than the day so far. I rested my forehead on the cabinet door and let myself breathe. Then I went back for more damage like an idiot. This time I opened her social media page. Not stalking, just searching for missing pieces, that is what I told myself. I scrolled back months, checking every caption, every tag. At first everything looked normal, couple shots, brunch, dog pictures. Then the pattern shifted and I almost missed it. More posts about finding myself in queer spaces popped up. At first she tagged group events, festivals, online panels. I remembered her calling them work stuff or ally events. I had believed that without a second thought. Now the comments below them glowed like neon. "I love seeing you so free, girl. So proud you are finally leaning in. Look at you living your truth." She never explained those to me and I never asked. I just tapped hearts, scrolled on, stayed in my safe lane. While I sat there replaying everything, my phone vibrated again. Unknown number this time, local area code, short text. "Hey, it is Erin, can we talk sometime about her?" I stared at the name, trying to place it. It took me a full minute to remember. Erin, the friend from her book club thing. The one whose name kept popping up in passing stories. The one she described as just this chaotic nerd I adore. We had never met in person, which suddenly felt intentional. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard, shaking a little. Talk about what exactly? I hit send before I could edit myself into politeness. 3 dots appeared right away, then vanished, then appeared again. When the reply came through, my stomach clenched hard. "I think you deserve the full timeline if you want it." Full timeline. That phrase alone knocked the wind out of me. Apparently, there was a version of events I still did not know. I should have blocked the number and gone for a walk. Instead, I dropped onto the couch and typed back. "Tell me when it started for her, no spin." My hands left sweaty marks on the phone case. The answer did not come fast, which made it worse. When it arrived, it was just one short message. She told me she could not marry a man back in January. January? I checked the date at the top of that screen. We got engaged in March. I felt something inside me go strangely quiet, then colder. It was like hitting the bottom of the pool after a long fall. I went back to our messages from that month. There she was, planning a trip with me, talking colors and themes. There she was complaining about weird dreams about girls lately. There I was, joking, shrugging, making light of it every time. I closed my eyes because I could not stand my own ignorance. I typed one more question to Aaron. Did you tell her to break it off before we got engaged? Again, long pause, dots, erase, dots again. Finally, I told her it was unfair to both. Of you, she said she would talk to you, I guess she did not. My chest burned in a way that had nothing to do with coffee. I tossed the phone onto the cushions and stood up fast. I paced from the living room to the hallway and back. Every step kicked up a new memory that now felt contaminated. I kept thinking somebody should have stopped this train earlier. Then I had to admit I had been the conductor half the time. Looking back while I write this, I see my own stubborn streak. In that moment, though, I clung to anger like a life raft. It was easier to paint her as pure villain, me as blind hero. The truth sits somewhere uglier, somewhere in between. I ignored plenty of cracks because the dream looked good. My phone lit again on the couch. Her name this time, short message. Can we sit down tonight and map out what to cancel? Map out like this was a project, not a funeral. I stared at the screen and felt something in me harden. Yeah, but I want exact dates from you first. I typed slow so I would not add curses or cheap shots. When did you first know you could not be with a man long term, specific month? I erased 3 harsher versions before sending that one. The reply came faster than I expected. January, I told myself I needed more time to be sure. She added another line before I could react. I know that makes everything worse, I am not asking for forgiveness. The honesty did not soften the hit. It just made the betrayal feel more deliberate. I locked the phone and finally took the ring off. This time I did not slide it back on like a coward. I walked to the bedroom and dropped it in the drawer. The tiny thud it made sounded louder than it should. It felt like the first actual decision I made all day. Her phone lit up on the counter as the shower started. The name on the screen was Aaron with a heart beside it. The preview line read, I keep replaying last night. My lungs forgot what to do for a couple seconds. I moved closer like the thing might bite. I knew her lock code, of course I did. We had traded them years ago during some trust talk. My thumb hovered over the screen while water pounded down. Every decent part of me yelled to walk away. The rest of me had already made a different choice. I tapped the code and the phone unlocked without hesitation. My hands felt clumsy, like they belonged to someone else. I opened the messages and scrolled straight to the top. Their chat sat there at the very first position. Pinned, actually, with a little icon I had never seen. The most recent message from Aaron was short. I hate that you are hurting, I am here. Above it was my fiance's text from earlier that day. He looked wrecked, I do not know how to breathe. So yeah, I was being discussed like a problem set. I scrolled up a little and the tone flipped fast. 2 lines from the night before grabbed my eyes. I still smell you on my hoodie. Wish I could sneak back into your bed. My chest tightened so hard I had to lean on the counter. Remember when she promised there was no physical cheating? That phrase echoed in my head while I kept scrolling. I wanted proof I was overreacting, not proof she lied. What I actually found did the exact opposite. It always does in stories like this, right? Weeks of messages blurred past in quick flicks. Jokes, inside references, late-night check-ins, pet names. The kind of rapid back and forth I used to have with her. There was an ease there I had not felt from her in months. That detail stung almost worse than the romantic lines. I stopped at a message with a tiny photo thumbnail. You looked unreal tonight, Aaron had written. My fiancé had replied, I only felt alive when you touched me. I tapped the image and saw them pressed together, grinning hard. I realized I had never seen that expression pointed at me. I kept climbing backward through their history. Not smart, but try telling that to someone mid-heartbreak. I recognized dates by what I had been doing those days. Just tried on outfits for his big surprise felt wrong. Come over after, I will help you forget. That line sat right under the day I asked her to marry me. I did not need a calendar to connect those dots. Back then, I was texting friends about ring boxes and music. She was texting Aaron about how to erase the aftermath. I gripped the counter so hard my fingers ached. Higher up, the conversation shifted from flirting to planning. I cannot lie to him forever, she wrote one night. He deserves someone who actually wants him. Aaron replied, then tell him before you sign anything big. Spoiler, that did not happen. I found the message Aaron had mentioned to me earlier. I cannot picture myself as a bride with a man. There was a timestamp from months before this week. Under it, Aaron had sent, then stop playing straight for everyone. Reading that, I finally understood how long this had cooked. Here is the part I still STLE with even now. She did try in her own twisted way to pull the brake. There were messages like maybe we should stop talking. Followed by ignore me, I am weak when I miss you. Every attempt at distance lasted maybe 2 hours. Halfway down the thread I hit the first clear crossing. Heading to see the place with him, my stomach hurts. Aaron wrote back, text me after, I will be waiting. Later that same day she sent, we booked it, I feel trapped. I remember that day as one of my happiest. I could almost see the scene from 2 angles at once. Me outside joking with the coordinator, pumped about the space. Her inside texting another woman about feeling caged. I honestly thought I might be sick right there. The shower ran on, clueless background noise to all of it. My thumb jerked up the thread too far and hit older posts. Their first messages were about some online group meeting. Then out of nowhere came the switch. I have not told him I like girls from her. Take your time but do not bury yourself from Aaron. The pattern was so painfully clear it felt staged. Lonely jokes, confessions typed at midnight. They built a little private world brick by brick. Every brick seemed to line up with some crack at home. I had been so proud of our good communication. A new text popped in at the bottom while I stared. Aaron again, are you okay still at home with him? I watched my own life get live commentary in real time. My thumbs hovered again, this time over the reply bar. The idea hit me fast and mean. I typed yeah I am here and paused. Then I erased it because that would start a whole different war. Instead, I locked the screen and set the phone down. My heart hammered loud enough to drown out the shower. Being right there with proof almost felt worse than guessing. The water shut off and pipes rattled through the walls. I stepped back from the counter like it had burned me. Her phone buzzed again where it lay between us. I did not look this time, I already knew enough. My jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt. She walked in wrapped in a towel, hair dripping. Saw my face and froze halfway to the bedroom. What happened? I nodded toward the counter without touching it. Your friend texted, I recognized the name. Her eyes flicked to the phone, then back to me. The tiniest shift in her expression gave everything away. Not surprise, not confusion, just immediate calculation. You went through my messages. Her voice came out low, not shocked, just resigned. I went through our messages, I shot back, pointing. Except surprise, they are not ours, they are yours and hers. She swallowed hard, fingers tightening on the towel edge. How much did you see? All of it felt like the only honest answer. I did not yell, which somehow unsettled her more. I saw enough to know this did not just happen last week. Her shoulders slumped an inch at that. I knew you were upset, I was going to explain tonight. She reached for the phone and I stepped in front of it. Explain what first, I asked a little too calmly. The part where you said there was no physical cheating. Or the part where you told her you only feel alive with her. Her face went pale in this flat, drained way. I was trying to protect you from details you do not need. You know that phrase, protect you. It makes my skin crawl now. That is not protection, that is control, I told her. You picked which version of the truth I could survive. And you picked wrong. Tears gathered in her eyes and she blinked them back hard. We did not sleep together until after I told you I am gay. Stop looking at the dates like you are a detective. I laughed once because the word detective actually hit right. Your own timestamps are doing most of the work here. I grabbed the phone again before she could stop me. Opened the thread to a section burned into my brain already. Read this out loud, I said, thumb on one message. She did not move, so I read it myself. I can still taste you from last night, I am shaking. Her lips parted like she wanted to argue the meaning. Even she could not spin that one into something innocent. That was the first time, she whispered, staring at the tiles. It was after I finally admitted everything to myself. Congratulations, I snapped. I am glad your awakening had good lighting. That was mean, I know, but I was past kind. She flinched, then regrouped like someone bracing for impact. I should have ended us before any of that, I know. I kept hoping I could hand you less pain somehow. The irony of that sentence still hits whenever I think about it. I pointed at another moment in the thread a few days later. You kissed her the same night we paid the next big bill. She wrote, I hate that our first real night is after you planned more with him. You answered, I feel guilty, but I also feel finally right. I felt my hands tremble. Loan did nothing to hide it. I was messed up, Jake. She pressed her fingertips to her forehead like she might split open. I was trying to walk out of a life everyone expected. That does not excuse it, but it is the truth. Honesty this late felt like salt on an open cut. Do you love her? The question jumped out before I decided on it. She closed her eyes for a second, then opened them again. Yes, she said, quiet but clear, I do. The room seemed to shrink around that one small sound. I wish I could tell you I handled that with grace. I did not flip the table or anything dramatic like that. I just laughed, this raw, ugly noise I did not recognize. You built a future with me while falling in love elsewhere. That is not confusion, that is cruelty dressed up as confusion. She reached toward me and dropped her hand halfway. I never meant for it to go this way. That line is useless now, I cut in, voice shaking. It went this way, intent does not rewind the tape. I realized I was almost shouting and forced myself back. For a long moment, we just stood there facing each other. Her still damp from the shower, clutching that towel. Me holding her phone like evidence at a trial. I felt my heart beating in my fingertips, in my jaw, everywhere. There was no version of this where we walked it back. Looking back now, this was the moment hope died completely. Before the messages, some part of me believed it was salvageable. Maybe we could stay friends, maybe we could untangle gently. After seeing those words, that future burned up instantly. You cannot unsee the thread where you become the side story. My phone rang before I finished my first coffee. Her mom's name filled the screen like a warning label. I watched it glow through one full ring, then another. On the third, I swiped because curiosity beat self-preservation. Jake, thank God you picked up, she launched in right away. Her voice already carried that loaded panic tone I knew too well. She told us some nonsense and I need your side. I pressed my back to the fridge and waited for impact. What exactly counts as nonsense today? I heard my own words and knew they came out sharp. She says the wedding is off and you both need space. I closed my eyes for a second, just one quick beat. Well, that part is not nonsense. Silence stretched for a moment on her end. Then the volume jumped like someone leaned over her shoulder. She is confused, Jake, she has always been dramatic. The way she said confused made my teeth clench. I knew exactly where this was heading and hated it. She is not confused, I answered, forcing my jaw to relax. She told me she likes women and she means it. Another pause, this time with muffled whispering in the background. When she spoke again, her tone had shifted to bargaining. We can work through that, the wedding does not need to die. I actually pulled the phone away just to stare at it. Like maybe the call would explain itself if I glared hard enough. You think this is something to work through like cold feet? She is under a lot of pressure, that is all, she insisted. You are the stable one here, you cannot abandon her now. That line hit weird, I will not lie. Not you cannot leave your fiancé, just you are the stable one. Like my main job was to be a steady prop in their picture. I paced a tight line across the kitchen floor, barefoot and restless. Abandoning would be marrying her while she wants someone else. Her mom exhaled loud enough to fuzz the speaker. Do you hear yourself right now? Do you hear how extreme this sounds? She is going through a phase, she always has these big swings. I pinched the bridge of my nose, classic frustrated move. She has a girlfriend, this is not a haircut phase. That part slipped out before I could soften it. The word girlfriend snapped through the call like a broken wire. Excuse me, what did you say? She has been involved with someone from her group, I repeated. And no, before you ask, I did not consent to that arrangement. Her mom's voice dropped lower, tighter. Are you accusing her of being unfaithful during an engagement? I almost laughed from the sheer absurdity of the wording. I am not accusing, I read the messages myself. You called me for my side, that is my side. More muffled whispering near the receiver, more shuffling sounds. I pictured her pacing in their living room, hand over the speaker. When she came back, the tone had changed again, colder this time. Look, families talk, we know she has struggled with identity. But she chose you, and we all committed to this celebration. Families talk. That phrase dug in deeper than she probably intended. So they had known she was struggling long before I did. Yet nobody thought to mention that before I booked an entire ceremony. I pressed my thumb against the edge of the counter until it hurt. When you say struggled, I asked, keeping my voice steady, what exactly are we talking about here? A long inhale came through, then a reluctant answer. She had situations with girls in school and college. We told her it was a stage, that she would grow past it. I actually had to sit down for that one. Not because the information shocked me, the timeline already hinted. It was the casual way she turned real relationships into practice rounds. You knew this was part of her and pushed her toward a husband. You see why I am not feeling honored right now. You are twisting this, she snapped, dropping the sweet tone. We wanted her to have a normal future, a secure partner. Someone who would not run around, someone dependable. In other words, a reliable, straight guy to stand at the altar. I could feel my pulse beating in the side of my neck. So I was the safety net, I said, more to myself than to her. The respectable fiancé, the one who looks good in pictures. She loves you, her mom shot back, quick as a reflex. She told me that, she told all of us that. She is just panicking now because it is getting close. She does not want to marry a man, I replied, each word careful. She told me that in plain language there was no hesitation. If I walked her down that aisle, it would be a lie. Her mom gave a short, humorless laugh that scraped my ears. Every marriage has parts you push through, it is not a fairy tale. I know marriage is not some dream movie, I am not that naive. But I also know starting one with a mismatched orientation is insane. You are asking me to help keep her closet door shut. You are asking me to stand beside her as camouflage. The word camouflage tasted bitter, but it fit. There was another rustle, then a deeper voice cut in. Her father now, taking over like this was a negotiation. Son, this is bigger than the two of you right now. We have guests flying in, we have deposits, we have plans. Typical list, money before mental health. I rubbed my forehead, trying not to lose it completely. So the priority is the party, not her honesty, not my sanity. You are being dramatic, he answered, almost bored. She said she is willing to go through with the wedding. She is just having doubts, your job is to reassure. That one almost made me drop the phone. She is willing to marry someone she is not attracted to. Do you hear how messed up that sentence is? He cleared his throat like I was the one being unreasonable. In our generation, people worked through much worse. I stood up again, pacing back to the living room. Yeah, and look how well that turned out for half of them. I am not signing up to be the acceptable husband mask. Not for you, not for anyone, and not for her. The quiet on the line after that felt heavy, then hostile. Her mom jumped back in, voice sharp and fast. So that is it, you are just walking away, leaving her to implode. You know she listens to you more than anyone. You could help her settle, you could help her stay. That phrasing hit me straight in the gut. Help her stay. Like leaving an identity behind was some bad habit to kick. I caught myself breathing hard and forced a slower rhythm. If she stays with me, she loses herself, I said. If she follows herself, she loses you, I get it. I do not think they liked hearing that truth out loud. Her mom's tone shifted from pleading to cutting in one sentence. We trusted you with her and you are giving up. You always seemed steady, now you sound selfish and weak. Funny how quickly stable turned into coward once I refused. Believe whatever makes this easier, I answered, tired and wired. But I am not her shield, not her cover story. I will help cancel things, I will not fake vows. If anyone asks why, tell them I refused to lie. Or tell them I ran, I know which version you will pick. She exhaled hard, a sharp burst straight into the mic. You are angry now, you will regret these words later. When you calm down, we can revisit the date, maybe adjust. That line actually made me laugh, short and humorless. There is no date to adjust, the wedding is done. You do not get to make that choice alone, her dad cut in again. This involves two families, not just your pride. That one almost pushed me over, my hand shook around the phone. She already made that choice when she asked me to marry a man she cannot desire. I am just catching up to her decision. He muttered something under his breath, then spoke louder. You young people throw away commitment over failings. In my day, you just did what needed to be done. In your day, people also lived whole lives pretending, I shot back. I am not building a life out of pretending, not for you. More noise in the background now, raised voices, clashing opinions. I could hear her name, my name, phrases like image and neighbors. It hit me how much this was about how it looked, not what it was. They were mourning the loss of a photo album, not our relationship. That realization actually calmed me more than anything else. I will email the venue today, I said, voice level again. I will let them know the event is canceled, we will eat the deposit. You are making a horrible financial choice, her father snapped. Maybe, I answered, but it is better than a horrible lifelong one. I ended the call before they could push back. My hand stayed curled around the phone long after it went silent. I stood in the middle of the room, breathing like I had run stairs. Part of me expected the device to ring again instantly. It did not, which almost felt worse, like the eye of a storm. I knew the next hit would come from a different direction. I did not have to wait long for that, honestly. Within minutes, messages started popping up from her cousins. Little lines like, heard some drama, call me, and you okay, man. Then one from her sister that went straight for the throat. Whatever you told mom, she is wrecked, please do not abandon her now. I stared at that last one for a long moment. Abandon again, that word kept circling this whole thing. Funny how no one used it when she checked out months ago. It only appeared when I refused to play along with the show. I locked the screen and finally opened my laptop. Emailing the venue felt like walking onto a stage alone. I typed, erased, retyped, trying to sound adult and collected. Due to significant personal changes, we need to cancel our event. I added the date, our names, the contract number, all the details. Then I hovered over send, heart beat loud in my ears. I wanted to call someone and ask if I was overreacting. Ask if maybe I should just postpone instead of canceling. But every time I pictured standing there in a suit beside her, knowing she wished the person at her side was a woman. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was her, not her parents' short message. Mom just called me crying, what did you tell them? I exhaled through my teeth and answered with bare facts. I told them I will not marry you as their straight prop. Dots flashed, disappeared, returned, like she kept starting and stopping. Finally her reply came through, longer, messier. You made it sound like they forced me into this, that is not fair. I stared at those words, feeling something inside me flare. So you were completely free when you said yes, right? Another pause, then, no, you know I was scared to disappoint them. Then they helped build this, even if you walked into it. You do not get to hand me all the responsibility and walk clear. I know that sounded harsh, and part of it was. Another part was the first honest boundary I had set in months. She called then, not a text this time, full voice. I answered because avoiding her forever inside our own place was impossible. You just blew everything up with one call, she started, breathless. They are saying you canceled behind my back, that you overreacted. I closed my eyes and leaned against the wall by the door. I did call the venue, I admitted, keeping my tone even. I told them the wedding is off, not postponed, not delayed. Silence then, a heavy stretch where I pictured her processing. You did not ask me, she said, very quiet now. For once, I answered, I did not need your permission. Looking back, that conversation with her parents changed something in me. Up to that point, I still carried this weird guilt for leaving. After hearing how ready they were to keep me as a front, I finally understood my role in their script from the start. I walked off that stage and for once I did not look back. Erin was already there when I walked in. She sat across from my ex, their knees almost touching. I watched her push a glass toward the empty chair. Everything in me wanted to walk back out. Instead, I pulled the seat out and lowered myself slowly. Thanks for meeting us. My ex's hand stayed wrapped around her drink. Erin gave me a small nod, eyes steady, jaw tight. I told her this should be just you two, she said. She wanted me here in case she falls apart. That would be new, I muttered, tracing the rim. My ex flinched, then straightened like she deserved whatever came. I asked for this because you only know broken fragments. I want you to hear the full thing from me. I waited because she had said versions of that before. Set the rules, I said, tapping the table once. You talk first, then I ask whatever I want. No dodging, no protecting me from details this time. She nodded, throat moving as she swallowed hard. Okay, no filters, you get the uncensored version. She looked down at her fingers and started there. I never set out to trap you, even if it feels like that. I liked our life, I liked being your partner. When I realized, wanted women, I hated myself. Erin shifted in her chair at that but stayed quiet. I told myself it was stress, hormones, whatever excuse fit. So I doubled down on us, on the plans, on the future. Every time we booked something, I thought committing would fix me. She laughed once, short and nervous, then shook her head. It did the opposite, it made the wrongness louder. I watched her while she talked, not just the words. Her shoulders drooped when she mentioned the engagement parties. She twisted the thin bracelet on her wrist without noticing. I kept thinking if I walk away, everyone loses their minds. So I chose the path that hurt only one person. Me, I said, and she winced like I slapped her. Yes, you, she answered, finally meeting my eyes. I figured you were strong enough to rebuild from this. But if I kept pretending, I would slowly die inside. Hearing that mix of compliment and insult messed me up. Erin finally spoke, voice low, a little rough. She told me all that when we first got close. She cried about you every time she left my place. I told her to stop stringing you along and choose. She kept saying she was trying to pick the least damage. I turned to her, studying the person I had blamed. You knew she was engaged, and you kept going anyway. Her chin lifted a notch, no flinch, just a resigned look. I knew, and I also knew she was not straight. I chose her honesty over your fantasy, and that is ugly. I did not like her answer, but I respected it. She did not pretend to be some innocent bystander. Still, my focus kept snapping back to the woman across from me. When did I stop being someone you wanted? I asked. Not the day, just the moment in your head. She took a long breath, then answered slowly. The night you talked about kids like it was guaranteed. We were lying on the couch, you were completely happy. You said you could not wait to see our daughter's face. I realized I wanted that life, but not with a man. That one hit like a punch I never saw coming. I remembered that night as soft, safe, full of hope. She remembered it as the moment her stomach dropped. I smiled and played along, and I hated myself. That was when you shifted from partner to impossible dream. I still treated you like a person though, she added quickly. You were not just a cover story, not some convenient accessory. I loved how you listened, how you always showed up. I loved our routines, our jokes, the stupid little rituals. I just did not want you in my bed long term. There it was, the core I kept dancing around. You separated me into parts, I said, voice tight. Good friend, reliable roommate, respectable fiancé on paper. But when it came to actual desire, I never stood a chance. She closed her eyes, then opened them slowly. You were first choice for everything except that one thing. That sounds awful, I know, but it is the truth. Every time we were physical, I tried to force my body. I watched your face and tried to copy it inside. Instead, I felt like I was watching a scene from outside. I remembered cringing moments suddenly, times she seemed distracted. Times she went quiet after intimacy, staring at nothing. I had filed those under normal relationship dips, nothing serious. Hearing what was actually going through her mind made me nauseous. I was not just unloved in that way, I was an assignment. Erin shifted forward, elbows on the table now. She would come to my place and fall apart on my floor. She would list all the ways you treating her kindly killed her. She felt like she was cheating on the only good man she knew. I am not justifying it, I am saying she was wrecked too. Did you ever think about telling me before I bought that ring? I kept my tone as calm as I could manage. My ex stared at her cup and nodded once. I rehearsed it in the car outside the store. Then I watched you walk out with the box and froze. That is not an excuse, she added quickly, eyes bright. It is just what happened. I choked, I shut down. You were so excited, so sure, so proud of yourself. I did not know how to blow that up in the parking lot. So I let it roll forward and told myself I would catch it later. I sat with that image, him in the lot with a box. Her in the car outside, rehearsing a breakup she never gave. You picked my happiness to sacrifice instead of theirs, I said. Because disappointing your parents felt worse than destroying me. My voice cracked on the last word and I hated that. She reached out a little, then pulled back halfway. Hurting you was not easier, it just felt less permanent. I told myself you would find someone else who wants you. With them, I knew they would never forgive this version of me. So I chose the person I believed could rebuild without them. I will be honest with you, that logic still makes me furious. At the same time, I recognize the twisted survival in it. She bet on my resilience and their stubbornness, and she was right. I was the only one in that triangle who could walk away clean. Knowing that did not make the cut any softer, though. I leaned back and studied Aaron again. So what am I to you in this story? Villain, victim, guy who got in the way. She held my gaze and did not look away. You are the collateral of a world that hates people like her. I did not expect that answer, and it rattled something. She continued, hands flat on the wood between us. If she had grown up hearing she was fine as she is, she probably never would have said yes to you. But she also would not have lied, and you would be elsewhere. Do you want me to pity you? I asked, not softly. She shook her head, hair shifting as she moved. I want you to stop thinking this was about you being unworthy. You were the best choice inside a bad set of options. Which is a garbage compliment, but it is still honest. My ex finally cut in again, voice shaking now. I never faked respect for you, I need you to believe that. When I bragged about you, that part was always real. You were the safest person I had ever met. I just lied about the kind of love I could give. I rubbed my thumb along the edge of my cup. What do you actually feel when you think about me now? She took her time before answering, searching for words. I feel grief for the friend I am about to lose. And guilt, a lot of guilt, more than I can explain here. The friend line dug in deeper than I wanted. She went on before I could respond or shut it down. I also feel relief, and I hate saying that in front of you. Relief that you know everything, that I am not hiding anymore. Relief that I do not have to touch you while wishing I wanted to. That last sentence stung like nothing else in that conversation. It was cruel and also probably the most generous thing she gave me. Because once you hear that out loud, you cannot pretend anymore. You cannot fantasize about maybe we could have worked it out. You see exactly how much of you was never truly chosen. So what do you want from me now? I asked. Because this sounds like a eulogy, but you keep using present tense. She laced her fingers together and glanced at Aaron, then back. I want permission to care about you without owning your life. I want you to one day answer my texts as a friend. I laughed once short, no humor in it at all. You want me to move from fiancé to emotional support buddy. That is a hard no, at least for a very long while. Maybe forever, I honestly do not know yet. I cannot watch you be happy with someone else up close. She nodded, eyes wet now, but she did not push. I figured you would say that, I respect it. Part of me wanted you to scream at me in here. Instead, you are being more decent than I deserve. That almost makes this harder if I am honest. Erin checked the time on her phone and stood up. I am going to give you 2 minutes, she said quietly. She walked toward the door and waited there, facing outside. For the first time all afternoon, it felt like just us. I realized how long it had been since that felt comforting. I know you probably tell this story with me as the villain. Her voice dropped, each word careful and slow. I am okay with that, I earned a lot of that role. I just want a tiny corner where you remember I loved you somehow. Even if it was the wrong kind of love for what you needed. I stared at the table, then at her, then back down. Right now, I remember you as the person who rewrote my history. You turned years of my life into something I have to reframe. Maybe in a few years I will see more than that. Today, this is as generous as I can be. She wiped under one eye with her thumb fast. Thank you for coming anyway, you could have blocked me. I stood up and grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair. At least now I know I was not crazy for feeling used. And you know I am not going to help keep your closet shut anymore. I walked past Erin at the door and she called after me. For whatever it is worth, I am going to push her to make this count. To not waste what she blew up your life for. I did not answer, I just stepped out into the street. Behind me, through the glass, I saw them reach for each other's hands. I clicked Submit Cancellation on the venue portal and watched it spin. A warning popped up about non-refundable fees and I hit Confirm anyway. The total hurt, but staying tied to that place hurt worse. I closed the laptop and just sat there, hands empty. For the first time in weeks, nothing else needed my answer. My next move was the lease office, which felt weirdly symbolic. I need something smaller, I told the woman at the desk. Studio, 1 bedroom, anything that works fast. She glanced at my file and raised an eyebrow. New job, divorce, what changed? Wrong fiance, I said, and her face softened immediately. Got it, she answered, handing me a paper to sign. It was ugly how good it felt to downsize on purpose. Less space meant fewer ghosts, fewer memories in each corner. I initialed every box like I meant it. Back home, I pulled out moving boxes and started filling them. I made piles without thinking, just going by instinct. My stuff, her stuff, shared things I could not look at. The shared pile grew fastest, which felt on brand. I left it stacked by the door like a question. She came by after work, eyes red, hands in her pockets. We stood there for a moment, not sure who started. Those are mine, she said, pointing at the middle stack. I nodded and stepped aside, letting her claim whatever. Watching her pack our life into bags felt strangely distant. At one point she paused with a photo in her hand. It was us at a party, her laughing into my neck. You can keep that one if you want, she offered. Looks like you were actually happy there, I answered. I took it and slipped it face down into a drawer. She loaded the last box and wiped her palms on her jeans. So this is really happening, she murmured, eyes on the floor. It has been happening for a while, I replied. Today is just the part you can see in 3 dimensions. Her mouth twitched like she wanted to argue, then stopped. Can I ask something without you biting my head off? She leaned on the door frame, looking exhausted and young. Depends on the something, I said, leaning against the wall. Her fingers worried at the strap of her bag, nervous. Do you think you will ever be able to forgive me? That question sat between us, heavy and unfair. I forgive you for not being straight, I answered first. I do not forgive you for letting me invest blind. Her shoulders dropped a little at that line. That is probably as kind as I can be right now. She nodded slowly, like she understood more than she liked. I keep wanting to say you will find someone better. Do not, I cut in, holding up my hand. That line makes you sound like a cheap breakup song. She gave a weak laugh that died fast. Okay, then can I say this at least? She shifted her weight, eyes finally meeting mine. You were never a placeholder to me in daily life. You were the only thing that kept me steady for years. I just could not keep using you as a shield. That word snapped something sharp inside me. You were fine with using me as insulation, though. Between you and your family, between you and yourself. I got to stand in the middle and hold everything. Her lips pressed together, but she did not deny it. She took a breath and tried again from another angle. I know I lost the right to ask for favors. But I am going to ask one anyway because I am selfish. If people reach out, please do not tell them I am a monster. Tell them I messed up badly while trying not to disappear. I am not interested in curating your image, I answered. I am going to tell the truth in whatever words I find. If that sounds ugly some days, that is the cost. I am done polishing things that cut me. She swallowed and looked away toward the hallway. Last thing, she said, voice barely above a whisper. If someday you feel okay texting me, I would answer. Even just a meme or something stupid, anything. I shook my head once, more sad than angry. Right now, staying in your orbit would wreck me. She blinked hard and finally stepped back toward the hall. I hope you end up with someone who chooses you fully. No asterisks, no secret footnotes, no second cast list. That is the one thing I am sure you deserve. She turned and walked away before I could respond. When the door shut, the silence hit like a physical thing. I grabbed a notebook from the counter and flipped it open. If I did not put this somewhere, it was going to eat me. I wrote a title first, then scratched it out 3 times. Finally, I just wrote what I ignored. I started listing moments, one per line, no commentary. The half jokes about not feeling built for straight romance. The way she dodged long-term plans that involved shared bodies. The missing photos with us actually touching without staging. Every line I wrote made my ears burn hotter. Halfway down the page, I stopped and stared at the list. At the time, I had framed these things as quirks. Now they looked like bright signals I refused to read. I wanted the story more than the truth, I wrote underneath. That sentence stung more than anything about her. I flipped to a clean sheet and wrote a new heading. Non-negotiables. It felt corny, but I kept going because I needed structure. Wants me without performing went on the first line. Would rather lose family than lie about who they love on the second. I kept adding small rules, not for anyone else, just me. Does not make me guess basic facts, tells me the bad news RLY. Knows I am a partner, not armor, stops me if I start self-erasing. By the end, my handwriting looked cramped and shaky. But for the first time, the future felt like mine to design. Later that week, the deposit refund email arrived, smaller than hoped. The number sucked, but at least it meant something concrete ended. I forwarded the message to her with a single line. Here is the amount, I will cover half, you can send later. She answered with, I will pay my share in full eventually. Friends started checking in more honestly once the news spread. At first they tried the usual lines, the ones everyone uses. Plenty of fish, you dodged a bullet, all that tired junk. I shut that down as gently as I could. This is not a bullet, it is a whole lost life plan. One friend invited me out for drinks with no agenda. He let me rant, then asked one simple question. If you could rewind to before the proposal, would you? I thought about that longer than felt comfortable. Only if she could rewind far enough to be safe being herself. Nights were the roughest for a while, not going to lie. My brain loved to run highlight reels right as I tried sleeping. Every nice memory came with a director's commentary now. This was sweet, but she was playing straight here. This part felt real, but only from your side. One night, after an especially bad replay session, I opened my laptop. Cursor blinking on a blank page, the whole cliché. I typed the working title almost as a dare. My fiance came out and told me our life was a lie. Then I started writing the story you are hearing now. I did not plan on posting it anywhere at first. It was just for me, a way to blade some of this out. But as I wrote, I kept thinking about the next guy. The one who might be in a similar situation right now. Squinting at red flags and calling them cute personality traits. That is how I ended up on a relationship forum late one night. I copied the whole thing into a post window, hands shaking. There was a tiny box asking for a title, of course. So I wrote it plain, no decoration, no clever hook. My fiance came out as a lesbian and told me everything was a lie. My finger hovered over the button longer than I will admit. Part of me worried she might see it and hate me forever. Another part worried people would call her every name in the book. The biggest part just wanted someone to say, you are not insane. I closed my eyes and clicked post. The screen refreshed and the story appeared with 0 comments. For a moment I considered deleting it and pretending I never tried. Then a notification popped up, then another, then more. I did not read them right away, I let them stack. It felt weirdly good just knowing other eyes were on it. Across the room, my phone lit up with a new message. Her name on the screen, simple and sharp. Thinking of you tonight, hope you are okay. I watched it glow for a few seconds, then dim. Then I turned the phone face down and went back to the post.